All right, hello everyone. We're going to start in just a minute or two at, let's see, Cameron and Braden's requests. Do you hear me okay? If you're just joining us, we're going to start here in about 2 minutes on our virtual field trip today. We do use Kahoot on our program. So if you're watching from one of the live streams over on social media or somewhere else, you're not going to be synced up in time. So if you want to play with Kahoot, I recommend you go to geoshow.tv, click on that webinar link to get into Zoom, and then you can play along. Everything will be in real time, and you'll be able to play along with Kahoot. If you are playing with Kahoot, go to kahoot.it or open up your Kahoot app if you're playing with a second device and enter in today's game pin, which is going to be 100. 100. Let me just double 2 zeros, not 3 zeros. I'll change that for everyone. But 1004924. Just 2 zeros. 1004924. All right, we'll get started in just another minute or so. Okay, the game pin should be correct now. So go ahead and try that. See if that works, Sam and Sadie. All right, looks like everything's working. We're going to get started here in about 10 seconds. I hope everyone's ready to go on a virtual field trip today. Go ahead and start adding in the chat box where you're watching from. I would love to give you a shout out. Also, that's where you're going to send questions to me live here on the show. All right, let's get ready, explorers. All right. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Brandon Hall. You can call me Brandon. Some kids even call me GOB because my show is called The Geo Show. So what I do for part of my job is I travel all around this big blue ball. I go to unique locations and I study and learn about new cultures, new histories, and new natural wonders. And I come back and I share these experiences with amazing students just like yourselves all over the world. And today we have a very special virtual field trip lined up for you. We're going to Komodo National Park. And today's Geo Show is brought to you by Learn Around the World. All right, so we kick off today with a survey question like we do with most of our shows. So if you're not using Kahoot or you want to use Kahoot, go to kahoot.it. So it's the web browser, or go to your web browsers, enter in the URL www.kahoot.it. Kahoot, S-K-A-H-O-O-T. .it. You're going to enter in today's game pin, which is 1004924, and you can play along with our Kahoot game throughout the show to make it more interactive for you. If you're not logged in yet, don't worry. You'll have time to get logged in. We're going to have a lot of questions that are not worth points, but we are going to have a 5-question quiz at the end of the show to see who's going to win today's Geo quiz. So make sure you're paying attention, explorers. But right now, I like to say the best way to learn how to do or use Kahoot is to play Kahoot. So let's do it. All right, lots of folks are already logged in. And again, if you've never used Kahoot before, because I know we have some newbies here. If you are playing on your computer, you're going to need to open up a second window. So it's recommended if you have a phone or an iPad to play with a second device, but that's okay. If you don't have that, you can play on one screen, but you need to be able to see 2 screens. You need to be able to see this screen right now so you can see the questions and the answers, and you need a second screen, that's kahoot.it, where you're logging in. That's where you're going to actually answer on the quiz. So let's go ahead and try it out. I know some of you are experts. So let's go ahead and launch it for those of you that already know how this works. All right, so our first game question today, and I'll only give you a few seconds. So we're going to start off with 20 seconds and then go down to 10. So our first question today, what country is Komodo National Park located in? We're going to this country on our virtual field trip today. What country is that? Is it Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, or Australia? What do you think, explorers? All right, a lot of people are saying Cambodia, and some people are saying Indonesia. So if you said blue Indonesia, you are correct. Big old high five goes out to you. And for everyone else, let's brush up on our geography here and find out exactly where Indonesia is located. Now, before we get started, I remind everyone on all of our virtual field trips to always do these exercises in your mind. Always compare what you're seeing, where you're going in a real life scenario, in a virtual field trip, or in a book. No matter what form of your exploration, always compare a place to your home. It's a good thing to do. So compare it. How is it similar to your home? How is it different to your home? And then ask more questions, explorers. Why is it different, or why is it similar? Is it the weather? Is it the politics of a place? Is it the resources available to a place? What is making it different or the same? All right, let's go ahead and begin. Today's virtual field trip, we are going to Indonesia, as we just learned. Indonesia is on the other side of the planet if you are watching from the United States. And as we zoom in here to Indonesia, a couple of things before we start talking about Komodo dragons today is I like to give you some fun facts about the country of Indonesia. And one of the fun facts that I like to point out is this is an island nation. So Indonesia is made up of lots of islands. In fact, explorers, there are over 17,000 islands that make up the country of Indonesia. Whoa, that's a lot of islands. Now, most of these islands are very small. No one lives on them. And as you can see, a lot of these islands are very big and lots of people live on them. In fact, so many people live on these islands. This is the fourth largest country in the world. So that's behind China, number one. Number two is India. Number three is the United States. Number four is Indonesia. With all these people living on different islands, there's lots of different languages. There's over 700 active languages in the country of Indonesia. Whoa, that's a lot. Don't worry, you don't have to know all of them. Most people speak several languages on the islands of Indonesia. So typically you have a regional or island language, and then there's a common, more modern Indonesian language as well. So many people speak multiple languages in Indonesia. And my last fun fact for you today is with all of these people living here, this makes Indonesia the largest Islamic country in the world. A lot of people think of the Middle East when you think about the religion of Islam, but more Muslims live in Indonesia than any other country in the world. So make sure you are definitely checking out Indonesia if you are researching and learning about Islam. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about where Komodo National Park is located, because that's where we're headed on our virtual field trip today. So Komodo National Park is located in the Flores Sea. So as we get closer to the Flores Island, which is the island to our right there, so we are going to Komodo National Park today. Komodo National Park is this group of islands right here. So this group of islands, there are 5 main islands. So this is Flores Island, a lot bigger. And the only way you can get to these islands is by boat. So you can't take a car or a bus or walk or bike or take a plane because the islands are too small. So if you fly, you have to fly in, which I did, to Flores Island. And then I took a boat around to these different islands. So this red line indicates the boat trip that I took all to these different islands. Now, there's 2 main islands, the island of Rinca and the island of Komodo, which the Komodo Dragons are named. That's where they get their name from, Komodo Island. And so we're going to see both of these islands today. Now, in the national park, it also includes what's underwater too. So it's a fantastic place to come scuba diving and to research about marine life. Some of the best coral I've ever seen in my life has been right here in Komodo National Park. All right, so today we're going to focus mainly on the Komodo dragons because that's what this place is famous for. And so the park was established in the 1980s, and today you can't visit here. So even if you wanted to, you can't visit Komodo National Park. It's shut down to tourists because so many people were stealing Komodo dragon eggs and selling them on the black market. So today we're going to start off here at Rinka Island. So Rinka Island, you're going to come and we're going to take our virtual boat to the boat dock, and we're going to go around, and these buildings that we see from the sky, these are ranger stations. So each one of these building structures are ranger stations, and there are villages or fishing villages around the outside, not at the spots of the island. So some people do live here, and but we're going to go to the ranger stations today, and it's almost a guaranteed place to see Komodo dragons, and we'll talk about why that is as we start hiking around on our exploration. All right, so this is a place that we're visiting today, and we're starting off right here at Rinka Island. But before we introduce those Komodo dragons, I do want to give some shout outs because we have lots of folks watching from our live stream today and right here in the Zoom webinar. So we have, let's see, from Madison, Wisconsin, Sam and Sadie, shout out to you over out in Wisconsin. Troy, Michigan, hello, Charlie, welcome to the show. Bradley, thanks for showing up wherever you're watching from. Bradley thinks it's cool. I do too. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Keep telling me where you're watching from today. And also a reminder, as you have questions, send them in early and often. You can do that inside your chat box, inside our webinar, or if you're watching from Facebook or Twitter or somewhere else, use the hashtag GeoShow over at Twitter, and I will see your questions there. But until then, let's go back to Rinka Island. So we're here today to abracadabra. We are now outside of our homes. We're stretching and getting that fresh air I know we all need right now. And we are visiting Komodo National Park. So again, this is Rinka Island that we are visiting first. Now, if you notice, explorers, there's some other dangerous animals to be watching out for today, not just Komodo dragons. So this is a crocodile area, which is a great time to bring up. Crocodiles and Komodo dragons are both reptiles, but Komodo dragons are not the biggest reptiles in the world. Crocodiles are bigger than Komodo dragons, but Komodo dragons are the biggest lizards in the world. What are they the biggest of? That's right, they are the biggest lizards. In fact, they're a type of monitor lizards. So they're in the monitor lizard family, and monitor lizards are very big lizards that are water lizards. And not all of them are as large as Komodo dragons. And Sam and Sadie wants to know, can they swim? Yeah, they can. They're actually great swimmers. They're in the monitor lizard family. And monitor lizards are found all over the world, but Komodo dragons are only found in Indonesia. This is the only place in the world that Komodo dragons are found at. So we're going to go see those biggest lizards in the world. So let's go ahead and meet our park ranger. There's also other dangerous reptiles here as well. There's two very venomous snakes. And one of them is a spinning cobra. So watch your step, explorers. So this gentleman in the brown shirt, this is one of the park rangers. They meet you at the boat. The reason they meet you at the boat, this is not a zoo, ladies and gentlemen. There are no enclosures. There are no pens for Komodo dragons to stay in. Uh-oh, what's that? That's right, that's a Komodo dragon. So we haven't even gotten to the ranger station to sign in yet, and we're already seeing Komodo dragons. Now, I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking the same thing when I came here. Wait a minute. When I watch Animal Planet or the Discovery Channel, I see these things running really fast and chasing their prey because there are these big bad predators. Well, they do when they're hunting, but the thing is, they only eat about once a month. They eat so much food at one time, they can eat about 80% of their body weight. The rest of the time, they're laying around. And so they're pretty inactive, especially during the hottest times of the day, because they are a reptile. And who can tell me out there? So we have lots of people watching from Michigan. Shout out Michigan. What are reptiles? Are they warm-blooded or cold-blooded? Who knows the answer out there? Are they warm-blooded or cold-blooded? Reptiles, things like snakes, lizards, alligators, crocodiles. Does anyone have a guess out there? So warm-blooded. So people were saying warm-blooded. I'll give you, say we are warm-blooded because we are a mammal, And some folks are starting to get it in. All right, so they're cold-blooded. So reptiles are cold-blooded animals. So what this means is they cannot regulate their body temperature like we can. So if we're cold, all we have to do is put a coat on. Does that coat give off heat? No. What gives off heat? We do, because we're warm-blooded. So we're just trapping that heat that we're giving off. We're making that heat ourselves. Reptiles don't do that. So reptiles need to use their environment to warm up. So this is often what we see right now in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, my home in Maine. When you have reptiles come out in the spring, they're usually doing the reverse of Komodo dragons. They are sitting in the sun trying to warm up. The Komodo dragons here in Indonesia, it's so hot, they're trying to cool down. So what you do during the hot times of the day, you'll see them on their bellies, spread out with all their arms and legs and bellies flat against the ground, and they're laying on that cool ground to cool off. They also dig burrows, and they'll go below ground during the hot times of the day as well. All right, so they are cold-blooded. So let's go ahead and check in, explorers. They want to know that whoever enters here is going to leave here as well. All right, so one of the cool things about a park, when you go to one, no matter, we've all been to parks, or most of us have probably been to parks that are watching today. Maybe you've been to a state park or a national park or a county park, and whatever that park you went to, they probably had all kinds of education materials and billboards up to teach you about the things that are living in your park. Same thing here at Komodo National Park. So what we're seeing here is a display of all the different kinds of prey of the Komodo dragon. So a prey for our younger audiences, these are the animals that get eaten. And the Komodo dragon is what we call a predator. So these are the animals that are eating the prey. So these are the types of animals that the Komodo dragon eats. The Komodo dragon in its environment is what we call an apex predator. So an apex predator, if you think about a pyramid, explorers, the very tip top of a pyramid is called the apex. So what does that mean in a food chain? If you're the apex predator, that means you are the top predator. Nothing is coming after you. You're going after most of everything else. So these are things like tigers, great white sharks, Komodo dragons. Well, I kind of take that back, because something does eat Komodo dragons. It's other Komodo dragons. Komodo dragons are also cannibalistic. That means they will eat other Komodo dragons. So the big Komodo dragons will eat the small Komodo dragons. They don't care. If you're living, they'll kill you and eat you. If you're dead and wash up on the beach like a dead fish, they will eat you as well. So we have things here like water buffalo. We have deer, monkeys, and then wild boar as well. Thinking about eating things, when you eat something, typically something comes out of you. So what do you think we're looking at right now? So what we're looking at is some droppings of Komodo dragons. And when you can get a lot of information about an animal, about what comes out of that animal. Yes, some people are saying poop for lack of better words. So this came out of a Komodo dragon. So Komodo dragons swallow their prey whole, like many other reptiles do. Think of snakes, if you've ever seen a snake eat. Some people are saying they have reptiles at home. How cool is that? So when you feed your reptiles, when they swallow their food whole, their digestive systems are really good. That means everything that they're able to absorb for energy, everything gets used. Like lions and tigers, they can't pick every single piece of meat off bones. They can't get everything off. But when you have an animal that swallows everything whole, everything is used. But the things they can't use comes out. And so we have things like this. Anyone have a guess of what is white? What is white inside of an animal that maybe is not going to get absorbed by the body? Does anyone out there have a guess? Think about Halloween. We dress up sometimes as a skeleton, right? So bones, a lot of people are saying bones. So bones get crushed up in the digestive system of the Komodo dragon. These are crushed up bones that are coming out. How cool is that? I thought that was fascinating. Other things like hooves. This is hair, deer hair and hooves that are coming out of the Komodo dragon. And one little cool thing before we get going and see the actual dragons is what's really neat about this is it's kind of gross when you think about it, but young Komodo dragons, remember I said the big ones eat the little ones? Little Komodo dragons have a really cool type of adaptation. It's a behavioral adaptation. So explorers, there's two kinds of adaptations. An adaptation typically is either a physical trait or characteristic of an animal or behavioral characteristic of an animal. And adaptations are tools that you use to survive in your environment. Think about birds that have wings that help them fly. Think we use our ears to help us hear, or our thumbs to play no, not play video games. All right, so we use our thumbs for tools, our opposable thumbs. Well, this is a behavior adaptation. So it's how you behave to help you survive. So the young Komodo dragons will actually go roll around in the big Komodo dragon poop. I know it sounds really weird, but it's a type of camouflage for smell. How cool is that? So it's the big Komodo dragons can't smell them when they roll around in the scent of the big Komodo dragons. All right, so let's keep walking around, explorers. And as we walk around, we're going to see our, looks like we had a freeze there. So we'll go ahead and do it this way. All right, so we're going to keep on walking around, explorers, and maybe we'll see a Komodo dragon here in a second or two. But everyone, I want you to keep an eye out around the edge of the videos as well, because out in the forest, you'll see some other animals like deer from time to time, or maybe monkeys out in the background. And if we're lucky, we'll see some Komodo dragons. Uh-oh, what's that? Something's in the trail. What's coming towards us, explorers? What should we do? That's a Komodo dragon. It's coming right towards us. All right, explorers, I want to know from you right now, Komodo dragon is coming right down the trail, right at us. What do you think we should do? Should we run? Should we not run? I don't know. Let's answer. Let's poll the crowd. Should we run from this Komodo dragon? All right, so we're getting it right split down the middle. Yeses and nos. All right, so, oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right, how many eyes do Komodo dragons have, explorers? All right, so they have 3 eyes. How cool is that? So Komodo dragons actually have 3 eyes. So we're going to get started and see those Komodo dragons, and I'll point out those 3 eyes to you in just a few minutes. But we should not run, explorers. Komodo dragons can run faster than you can. And to be honest, I wanted to run at this point. I was pretty scared, and but I didn't run because we have a guide that's standing off camera right to our right, and he told us, do not run. They can run faster than you, and you may cause them to run after you if you take off running. Has anyone ever been riding their bicycle and a dog chased them and you start just pedaling faster? Does that dog stop chasing you? No, they keep chasing you, right? Same thing. We don't want to entice a predator to start running after us. So we're not going to do that. And when we look at our Komodo dragon, it ended up stopping right in front of us, and it lifted up its head. And this is a great time, explorers, when you can really look at this Komodo dragon and you really get a sense of why they are called Komodo dragons. Surely if any animal looks like an actual dragon, it is this one right here. Just throw a little pair of wings on there and it's probably flying around breathing fire, right? So a couple of things I want to point out here. One is that our guide started hissing at the Komodo dragon. He started going, and when he started doing that, that's when the Komodo dragon stopped in its tracks and popped its head up. And we'll see what happens here in a second. It started walking off to the side and around us. And that's because Komodo dragons don't hang out or live together in groups or packs or schools or any other word herds that we have out there for animal groups. Instead, they live by themselves. But on these islands, so it's 5 small islands in Komodo National Park, or 5 larger islands, lots of small ones. And there's about 5,000 Komodo dragons packed on these small islands. Now, most of them are on Rinka and Komodo Island. And so there's about 2,000 or so Komodo dragons on this island. So they come across each other all the time. So this is their warning sign to each other of, hey, you're in my personal space. You're in my bubble. You need to back off. Yep, yep. And so that's the warning sign that they give to one another. Uh, Before we continue on, I do want to show you a couple of things. We talked about adaptations earlier, and one of the best adaptations as a predator that the Komodo dragon has is their sense of smell. Everyone look at the tongue of the Komodo dragon. Does everyone see that tongue going in and out? What do you think they're doing with that tongue as it goes in and out? Anyone have an idea what they might be doing with that tongue? All right, and I'll give you a little visual here. And so when that tongue comes out, it makes kind of a fork. Has everyone ever noticed this? So some people are saying it's for licking. Of course. What do you do with your tongue? Of course you lick. Of course they lick things. It's also a forked tongue. And the reason it's a forked tongue is because they have this really cool adaptation that they use for smell. And remember, adaptations are things that help an animal survive. So all plants and animals have adaptations. We have adaptations. Komodo dragons have adaptations. And as your environment changes, your adaptation may be good or bad for that environment. Most animals live in a place, they have adaptations to help them live in their hot environment or their cold environment. Think about polar bears. We're in a hot environment here. So adaptations, physical adaptations, we talked about behavioral earlier. Physical adaptations are things like your sense of sight, your sense of smell, your sense of hearing. These are physical adaptations. Now, they have nostrils. You see their nostrils? They have nostrils. But this adaptation is a better adaptation for smelling than their nostrils are. And the way that we use our sense of smell is we pick up smell molecules floating in the air. Our nose reads those and tells us if something smells good or bad, right? Komodo dragons, they rely more on their tongue, and it's not the tongue that smells. And someone said licking, so they are licking the air. So that is a really good answer. They're licking the air, and when they bring that tongue back in their mouth, they stick it into the roof of their mouth. And there's two holes in the roof of your mouth, and that goes to an organ called the Jacobson's organ. Can everyone say Jacobson's organ? Awesome. So Jacobson's organ. So what the Jacobson's organ does, this is really cool, is because when they put that smell out, and if we have smell floating in the air, it sticks to the outside and the inside of the tongue. They can tell directions with the Jacobson's organ. So they can smell the air and say, well, that smell is coming from this way. I smell food. Let's go. And that's what the Komodo dragon does with the Jacobson's organ. Really cool. They can smell smells over 2 miles away. And again, if dead fish wash up on the beach, remember they're on an island. If another Komodo dragon kills a deer, all of a sudden, other Komodo dragons are going to start coming around because they're going to smell that from really far away. All right, so that is the Jacobson's organ, and our Komodo dragon pops up his head. Now, remember, we're going to see what happens after he popped up his head. This is when our tour guide started hissing at him and he walked around. Remember, he walked around us. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to look how big this Komodo dragon is. This Komodo dragon, I would guess, is about 100 pounds, maybe a little bit more. But we're going to go over to Komodo Island next, explorers. And over on Komodo Island, which is, remember, the big one next to Rinka. So we're going to leave Rinka Island and we're going to go over to Komodo Island and see some of the Komodo dragons there. And some of the Komodo dragons there actually get bigger than they do on Rinka Island. This is for several reasons, explorers. One is there's less competition with people. So there's lots more deer, water buffalo, other large prey as well, which allows them to get a lot bigger. So the Komodo dragons here can get up to 300 pounds, over 300 pounds and over 10 feet long. So this is where we're going to head, explorers. Just like at our last island, the guaranteed place to see Komodo dragons is at these ranger stations or near where people live, which brings up a great question that we have coming in from Bray. Bray wants to know, do Komodo dragons kill people? So yes, Komodo dragons are opportunistic. What do I mean by that? If the opportunity is there for food, they are going to take that opportunity. So Komodo dragons do and have eaten people. Now, the last tourist that was eaten by a Komodo dragon, I believe, was in the early 1990s. So it's been a while because people know now, hey, these are not things we should be playing around with. So today it's recommended when they open the park back up. It's recommended. I hope all of you, if you get a chance to go and you're brave enough, then if you visit here, always go around with a park ranger. So they're there to walk around with you and help protect you. And we'll check in with some of those rangers here in a couple of minutes. But they can and have eaten people. So we do need to be careful of that, explorers. All right, so let's go ahead and meet the Komodo dragons of Komodo Island. So as I said before, they get a lot bigger here. So this one is over 10 feet long, over 300 pounds. It's probably double the size of the last Komodo dragon that we just saw. And remember I said Komodo dragons, they don't really like to be around other Komodo dragons, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's go back there. I'm going to turn the volume up, explorers, and I want you to listen to what it sounds like when a Komodo dragon gives that warning to another Komodo dragon. Since we're talking about adaptations here, explorers, often we do something called deer ears here on the Geo Show. So if you're wearing earphones, it's not going to work because you already have the sound in your ears. But if you're just listening to the speakers of your computer, this will work and it's fun to do. So take your hands and scoop them like you're scooping up water. Now get your fingers really, really tightly. You don't want that water to fall out of your fingers. Now put those scoops right behind your ears. You look funny. What you're doing is you're making yourself have big ears right now. And bigger ears are better ears when we talk about hearing. Think about an elephant, right? They have great hearing. And the reason for that is because sound travels in waves through the air. And the bigger your ear is, the more waves you can catch and funnel right into your ears, right? So this is how ears work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our deer ears. We're going to give ourselves a better physical adaptation. Now I want you to look around, find where you hear my voice coming from. And if it's coming from your computer, look directly at your computer and you should be hearing me louder right now. So use your deer ears and let's use that super hearing. And I want you to listen to what it sounds like when a Komodo dragon gives that warning call to the other one.
So slow, but for sure. That's dragon voice.
All right, so that was the voice of the Komodo dragon. Now, again, this is not a zoo, explorers. I'm sitting on the deck of the ranger station, but look right off the deck here. Can you imagine if you walked outside in your yard and there are two Komodo dragons just sitting right there? I would be scared personally. I don't know about you. And speaking of people's homes and where they live around Komodo National Park is, look, there's a Komodo dragon out here. There were two right in front of the deck here. There were Komodo dragons all around laying right beside the shelter. I wonder why that is. Well, it's very hot here in Indonesia. We're close to the equator. So that means it's a tropical environment. So it's hot all year round. There's a rainy season and a dry season. So it's hot all year. And because of that, most homes, most buildings are open air. So they're open air. So that means, and even if it wasn't an open air, you would still have smell that gets out. Remember how well they can smell up to 2 miles away with that Jacobson's organ? So whenever you cook your lunch here, you're just attracting Komodo dragons from all around. They're just coming. Any close by Komodo dragon is going to come hang out when you're cooking because they smell that food even when you're not cooking. Now, which it brings up a great point when you look at the stairs here. A lot of people build their homes really high up on stilts. This keeps the Komodo dragons out. Also, you notice in the ranger station, this one isn't all that high though. There was an accident a few years back where a park ranger left a door open and a Komodo dragon walked in the middle of the night, got inside and laid under the desk. The next morning, the park ranger came in, sat down at the desk, looked under the desk, and saw a Komodo dragon there, and it bit its leg. Can you imagine sitting down at your desk at school or at home or anywhere and looking down and seeing a 200-pound Komodo dragon right there? I don't even want to think about it, right? And because remember, they can eat 80% of their body weight. That means if it's a 300-pound Komodo dragon, it could eat me in one sitting if it wanted to. So we need to be careful with that and think about that. So the ranger did survive. He was okay. You have to get to the hospital quickly. They are dangerous if you get bitten by them. All right, so just a review here. Remember, there are small villages like fishing villages, and remember, this is an Islamic country. This is a mosque up here on the hill for this fishing village. And people that live here, they do have to keep in mind that there are Komodo dragons here. So it's not a good idea to just go out and play sometimes in certain areas that people aren't around. So if you look at the hills, this is the bionome, or this type of environment is called a tropical savanna. So that means it's mostly grassland in the higher areas. We get lots of trees and shrubs in the low-lying areas. Remember I said there's 17,000 islands in Indonesia? Most of them look like this when we're talking about getting up to that high number. Very small islands, but there's only one place or one way to get there, and that is by boat. Now, if you look at the island itself, remember I said low-lying areas? Komodo dragons are ambush predators. So some of our folks that joined us a little bit later, so they're going to eat things like deer, water buffalo, monkeys, boar, anything like that. And as they walk by, their prey walks by, they're ambush predators. So they'll jump out and bite them. So if you don't know what ambush means, it's kind of like if you have a brother or sister at home and you hide behind the door and they walk into the room and you jump out and scare them. That's an ambush. And that's the way that they hunt. So they hide and they wait till something comes by, they jump out and they bite them. If it's a large animal, they're going to wait and follow them along until they die. More about that in a second. If they're small, they'll go ahead and kill them right there, like a small monkey or maybe a wild boar, if they catch a wild boar. And speaking of the little ones, when Komodo dragons are born, so Komodo dragons are reptiles, they lay eggs. There's typically 15 to 30 eggs in a clutch. That's what we call a group of eggs. So in the clutch, there's 15 or 30 eggs. The eggs are about the size of a grapefruit, if you've ever seen a grapefruit. And when they hatch, the hatchlings are about 16 inches long, so about this big. Now remember, big Komodo dragons will eat them. So the first thing they do is they'll go run up a tree. They typically live the first 4 years of their lives in trees. This is so fascinating. I never knew this. Komodo dragons live the first 4 years of their lives in trees because the big Komodo dragons will eat all of these little young Komodo dragons up if they are down on the ground. And the big Komodo dragons can't climb trees anymore. Once you get over 100, 200, 300 pounds, you can no longer climb trees. Now, the young Komodo dragons, while they're living in the trees for that first few years, they're eating other small lizards like geckos. They're eating bugs and insects, bird eggs, and things like this as well. What's really fascinating, speaking of eggs, one of the adaptations of the mothers, when they lay their eggs, they'll make what we call dummy or fake nest. So they bury their eggs in nests and they'll make fake ones and then they'll have a real one. And they make the fake ones because the male Komodo dragons, if they find the nest, they'll dig it up and eat the eggs. Remember, they're opportunistic predators. If they find food, if their opportunity is there, they will eat it. Now, I already asked this question. We learned that they have 3 eyes. What? They have 3 eyes? So they have 2 eyes, 2 developed eyes like we have, and they can see about like as well as we can. And they're diurnal animals. Anyone know what diurnal means? I'll give you a hint. It's the opposite of nocturnal. Most people have heard of nocturnal. So nocturnal means you're most active during nighttime. So if you're the opposite of that, you're most active during the daytime. And one of my favorite science words is the in-between time, dusk and dawn. Those animals are called crepuscular. These are things like mosquitoes or crepuscular, beaver tend to be crepuscular. A lot of apex predators tend to be crepuscular because there's more prey out and about. All right, so when we look at their eyes, here's their third eye right here. It's right on top and it's right there. And it's an undeveloped eye. So they can't see as well as these 2 eyes. This underdeveloped eye, basically all they can do is see shadows with that eye. So they can see a shadow as it passes over their head. That's about it. what they're using it for. So they dig burrows and they'll back into their burrow in the daytime when it's hot, and they'll use that third eye to kind of see if another Komodo dragon is peeking in their burrow, and that can give them warning there. All right, so I do have another question for you on Kahoot, so make sure you have your devices geared up. That game pin, if you're not logged in yet, is 1004924. All right, explorers, my next question for you is going to be, Komodo dragons are venomous. Yes, no, or I don't know. All right, so some are saying yes, some are saying no. Komodo dragons are venomous. Komodo dragons are venomous. So this explores, I always tell people, always be willing to learn as you get older, and it doesn't really have anything to do with age, is as we get older as humanity, as society, we're always learning new things as people. And sometimes that applies to things that we know or things that we thought we knew about animals. At one time, we didn't know that Komodo dragons were venomous. And by the way, if you bite something, if you're an animal that bites something else and injects a toxin, that is called venom. You are venomous. So there's no such thing as a poisonous snake. Again, there's no such thing as a poisonous snake. There's no such thing as a what? Poisonous snake. A poison is something you consume, like a poisonous mushroom, or it enters through your skin. Like think about poison ivy. So these things are poison. If it bites you and injects a toxin into you, it's typically a venom. Things like scorpions, spiders, snakes, Komodo dragons, they're all venomous, not poisonous. All right, so when we look at the Komodo dragon, when we go back and look at our Komodo dragon, this is the venom gland. It actually comes up. And remember I said always be willing to be open to new information. Science is always coming up with new information, and we have to be able to change what we thought we once knew. It used to be thought that the bacteria in their mouth was the main thing that killed their prey, because a Komodo dragon can bite a water buffalo and just follow it for 2 to 3 days and wait for it to die. And we used to think it was the bacteria in their mouth. Today, we know that they have venom, so they are venomous. And the venom prevents their blood from clotting, so they bleed out. And there also is nasty bacteria in their mouth. So it's probably a combination of both, but that's what it is. These are the teeth of the Komodo dragon. They don't have big, big teeth, giant teeth like a tiger or a lion has. Instead, they have very, very small teeth because remember, explorers, they are swallowing their prey whole, the entire thing. So their teeth are just being used to tear off a leg and swallow that leg whole, for example. So this is an actual Komodo dragon tooth. So one of the park rangers gave this tooth to me. It's one of those that he's holding in his hand right now. And it's hard to focus in on things this small sometimes, but I'll give you an idea. It's about the width of my pinky fingernail. And so they're not that big of teeth. Really what they're doing, they're using them like a steak knife. They're serrated on the edge. They're just for cutting off large chunks. But remember, they're swallowing their food whole, so they don't need to get it into small pieces and chew it or anything like that, like some other animals need to do. And again, as you see them laying around, you can get quite close to them. You may think this is quite dangerous. You see this on Animal Planet, right? You never see people this close. Well, remember, they're really inactive. They eat one time a month when they're eating very large meals. And so they're pretty much inactive the rest of the time. Now, you still need to take precautions to stay safe, explorers. And you can see one of the things, that gentleman is holding one of those big sticks. We'll talk about what they do with those big sticks in a second. But those Komodo dragons, and you also have those rangers. I am holding one of those sticks as well, you see. And when we talk about Komodo dragons and the being around Komodo Island, and they can swim. So I chose to go swimming after hiking around Komodo Island. You may choose differently, but after going back and teaching this virtual field trip a number of times and looking at the crocodile sign, maybe I shouldn't have. I don't know. We'll see what happens next time I go. All right, so we did sleep on the boat, and sunsets are cool, and I think we can all appreciate a good sunset these days. So there we go. That is Komodo National Park, at least what is above the ground. I would love to answer some of your questions, so make sure you are sending those to me over at #GeoShow if you're watching from outside the webinar, or right here inside the webinar. Start throwing those questions inside of a chat. Angie has a bearded dragon. How cool is that? Awesome. And let's see. Some people are asking, how do dragons play, or do they play? Play typically is something that a lot of animals use as a way to, usually you notice it in like mammals. You have siblings that play with one another. Think about lions, young lion cubs. And play is a very important activity for you to learn how to hunt eventually. It seems to be with things like reptiles. They lay their eggs and they leave the eggs. There's no parenting to Komodo dragons. There's no growing up with siblings. They're living their entire life by themselves, and they have to eat from day one. Remember, they are reptiles. They're not mammals, so they aren't getting milk from a mother or anything like that. So they have to hunt from day one. So I think their playing really is their eating. So I wouldn't classify it as play, but maybe you could. Maybe you could. That's definitely a possibility. And so great question though. Do they eat the poop? So would they eat the bones twice? I don't think so. So let's see. Do they hunt people when they are active? So remember, they're opportunistic, but it's not their natural prey. So typically they like to go after the deer or the boar. And some of these prey weren't traditionally natural. A lot of these are invasive species that were introduced by people, like the water buffalo and the wild boar. Those were introduced by people. Do they sneeze? I don't know. How do they get water? They drink water. It was really, here's a cool fun fact about Komodo dragons. They can't swallow like you and I can. So you couldn't take a drink from a glass and then swallow. So what they do is that they kind of scoop water with their mouth, and they just hold their head back, and it just runs right down their throat. So that's how they drink. And do they sleep? Yeah, they can't see well at night, so they typically go into their burrows. Most of their eyes are full of cones. So all of our older students out there, you may know in your eyes you have rods and cones. You can remember this. Cone starts with C. Color starts with C. Cones see color. Cones are great for daylight. Diurnal animals. We have more cones than we have rods in our eyes. Rods are better for nighttime. Let's see, what are their bodies are scaly. I did not touch one. I did not get close enough to touch one. So I can't tell you from personal experience. I know from what I read from scientists and other professionals that it's very tough, like armor. And that's all I can tell you. Bradley wants to know, how old do they get? That's a great question, Bradley. Typically about 30 years old in the wild. And they can get older inside of a zoo environment where they're being fed and things like this. I believe the Canadian Zoo had one that lived up to 50 years at one time. Let's see. Would a Komodo dragon fight a giant Indian cobra? I think a Komodo dragon, if they had an opportunity to eat it and it was around, they would go after it. Komodo dragons, like I said, will go after anything. And I don't know, they have really tough scales. So I don't even know if the cobra could bite through that. I don't know. Great question though. All right, so let's go ahead and to keep things moving along. I do want to, because I know we're going to get this question, and I do want to let people know, what do you do to keep yourself safe when you're walking around? And I try to defer to professionals, and in this case, it would be the park rangers in Komodo. So let's go ahead and check in with one of the guides that works in Komodo National Park and how they stay safe.
Is it common for dragons to attack people?
Yes.
Attacked?
All the time, I need this stick. Yeah. We don't have gun.
Yeah.
But this is gun. Yeah. But it is just for to make stop when the dragon come close to me. Yeah. Better to make stop.
Can you outrun a Komodo dragon?
Yeah. The dragons very, very quickly also. Acting to 20 kilometers per hour. Faster than us. Quickly to the hospital. I think you'll be survive. If not, yeah, I think you'll be die.
So
So he was saying what happened if you got bit. So you have to get to the hospital. Remember, they're venomous and lots of nasty bacteria in their bites. So you definitely need to get to a hospital to get some advanced medications. You cannot wait out a Komodo dragon bite.
Okay, so if a dragon attacks
Yes.
and you have this,
Yes.
what do?
This stick why? Yeah. Why this stick fork like this? Yeah. This make easy. Yeah. When the dragon come to us, yeah, and we put on the neck, and we throw away.
Like this?
Yeah, like this. If they more aggressive, yeah, we the very sensitive the Komodo dragon, you can hold on the mouth
In the mouth?
and they go away.
Do you have to do that?
Yes, every time I do that. Yeah, and this stick, just a stick. Sometimes some people say, "Oh, this is a magic sticks." No, this is not just stick. But these sticks, they need the strong wood. Yeah, and this trick.
All right. So these sticks are used. If you've ever watched the cartoons and you've seen the dog catcher with the big, or maybe an old movie, and the big rod with the loop on the end, and it kind of works in the same way, but instead of a loop, it's a Y end. So basically, what you're doing is you're grabbing them by the neck, and you're just keeping your distance. You just want to keep them away from you. But if they're really aggressive, you're gonna whack them right across the end of their snout or their nose there. And what they do is they're sensitive, so it makes them go away. And so that's why you want to walk around with someone. All right. So there's a lots of animal versus questions. It's a great thing to follow along. I'm pretty sure they're still doing it, but every year during the month of March with March Madness, typically it goes along. Unfortunately, we don't have this year, but on Twitter, if you want to follow this, they only do it with mammals. So it's the Mammal March Madness. I think you have to maybe Google the Twitter hashtag. It's called Mammal March Madness. And these are professional biologists and other scientists that actually chime in, and each week they do a battle between, say, like the honey badger and like an extinct bear, for example. And they talk about, well, the honey badger will have its advantage in this and this and this, and the bear will have its advantage in this and this and this. I see lots of people that are interested in animals battling each other. Very interesting Twitter hashtag to follow, and I highly encourage it, especially this month. All right, so let's jump right into it, explorers. I want to know how well you were paying attention today on our virtual field trip. I do have one last poll question for everyone before we launch our quiz. So make sure you get logged in over at Twitter. Use that that game pin 1004924. Okay, one more practice question, and then we're going to give out points rapid fire in our geo quiz coming back to back. You only get 10 seconds. Let's go. Would you go hiking at Komodo National Park? All right, you know that they'll eat people. What do you think? Would you? Yes, no, or you know what? I'm undecided. All right, everyone out there is like, yes, I want to go. All right, so let's do it, explorers. Quiz is starting right now. Komodo dragons are the largest what in the world? Dragons, dinosaurs, lizards, or reptiles? All right, they are the largest lizards in the world. All right, so jumping out to the lead, we have Amazing Gator. How fitting for today's show. Komodo dragons are listed as a vulnerable species. Yes, I'm sorry, I did not tell you. Yes, true, everyone. Hit red, red, red. All right, so my apologies. I don't think I brought this up yet today, but they are vulnerable species. Maybe I told you at the beginning with people stealing eggs. So when we think about animals, when we have no more animals or no more plants, we call that extinct. Okay, and this is something that happens naturally. 99% of all animals that have ever existed on Earth in the past are extinct right now. So what we have left today is just a small percentage of everything that's ever lived. So at some point, most things go extinct. But we don't want things to go extinct quicker than what they should, especially when it's caused by people. So Komodo dragons, we have a scale, we have a rating system. So we have extinct, and then the next level over. So you're endangered. So that means you're endangered of becoming extinct, but you're not extinct yet. And then one more step over is called vulnerable. So if your species is vulnerable, you're almost endangered, but you're not endangered yet. So Komodo dragons are what we call vulnerable. So they're not endangered, but they're close to becoming endangered. All right, so next question, explorers. Komodo National Park is found in what country? Thailand, Indonesia, Cambodia, or Australia? All right, they're located in Indonesia. All right, good job. Amazing Gators still out at the lead. 2 more questions. Komodo dragons have been known to eat humans. All right, true. That is true. And we have Amazing Gators still in the lead. Close behind, we have in second. Where do the young Komodo dragons live? Do they live on the ground, in the water, in the trees, or in caves? All right, they live in the trees. All right, great job, explorers. And today's winner is... All right, Amazing Gator. Great job today, Amazing Gator. You're going to get a postcard from me if you choose to. So, Amazing Gator, check in with your parents. If it is okay and only okay with them, I want you to go over to geoshow.tv, click on that Kahoot winner, and you are going to send me your mailing address. I'll get that postcard sent right out to you. All right, we have some more shows coming up for the rest of the day and for the rest of the week is too. So go to geoshow.tv, check out when those next shows are. Next up at 12 o'clock today, we have the Sacred Monkey Farce, and we're staying right inside Indonesia. All right, explorers, it's been a blast. I've had fun, and I hope you all loved getting out and going traveling virtually, of course. Stay safe out there. I hope everyone keeps exploring. It's a great big world out there, and don't forget to wash your hands. Have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.